Okay, here we go. Senior Solutions, your plan for 2019 to achieve success. So let's talk about this for just a moment, then I'm going to dig in. So, you know, once you decided to become your own boss, when you made the decision to join this business, you have to have a why. Why are you doing this? Because if you don't have a why, you don't have a good reason, or you don't know who you're doing it for, you're going to easily get distracted. And when you fall off pace and you get off target, you're not going to have any substance there to kind of push you through when times get a little challenging or difficult. And so let's go ahead and move on. The first thing you guys need to do is you need to start with goals. And so I always look at goals being like a bird's eye view, and I'm getting conflicting messages. Some people are telling me, I'm sorry, some people are telling me the webinar hasn't started yet. Some people are saying they can hear me fine. So I'm just gonna I'm just gonna move forward. So I'm gonna turn my phone off so I'm not distracted with that again. I apologize. Let's get back to goals. Picture this: if you were a ship in a harbor and you didn't have a destination, right? And there was nobody at the helm steering and guiding that ship. First off, it probably wouldn't make it out of the harbor, but if it did, that ship is bound to wreck. And that's what it's like when you're a businessman or businesswoman and you have no goals. You have no direction, you have no target. So a bird's eye view is what I want to do, what do I want to accomplish. And so I laid out a few things, and you might want to jot this down. So the first thing is, what do you want to make? What's your annual income? How much do you want to earn a year? You know, put some thought into this. The year is about to end. If you haven't already put your goals together, you need to do this. Um, what does that equate to in annualized premium? You kind of have to work it backwards. I want to make X amount of money. Well, what does that look like in annualized premium? And then how many presentations am I going to need to make every week to hit that number? What's the app count going to be? So based on that, annualized premium, then you're going to divide that by the average monthly premium, right? And you're going to figure out how many apps you need. How about annuity sales? You know what? If you don't have a goal for annuity premiums and annuity applications, guess what? You're probably not going to write any. It's going to like literally have to fall in your lap. So once you write the goal down and you start looking for it, things will happen. So aside from these, I mean, there could be many other goals. I'm just giving you guys some examples, but I do want to say something about goals. Is once you write these goals down, you can't just put that tablet away and forget about it. You actually need to review it every single day. If you review your goals every day and maybe you revise them, add to, take away, change something, you're staying on top of it every single day, I guarantee you this is going to keep you focused throughout the work week, because when times get tough, those goals are embedded in your subconscious and you know what you got to do to achieve them. So we got to start with goals, and you got to invest in yourself. This is Warren Buffett, and he says anything that improves your own talents, nobody can tax it or take it away from you. They can run up huge deficits and the dollar amount can become far less. You have all kinds of things that can happen, but if you got talent yourself and you've maximized your talent, you've got a tremendous asset that can return tenfold. So I want to talk about investing in yourself. And there's a couple of things that we need to talk about. So the first thing real quick is self-development. I always have an ebook or an audible book that I'm either reading or listening. And in some cases, I'm doing both with the same book. One thing I love about Amazon is if you find the book that you want, and all the books that I purchase are self-development. Either maybe it's something to do with specific sales skills. Maybe it has to do with learning how to talk with people. Maybe it has to do with something with my marriage. Whatever I choose to do, you can actually buy them at the same time, the ebook and the audible book, and they sync together. And so you could basically be reading at home, and then when you're in your car, it automatically syncs to the place you left off on your book, and it picks up and you can listen to it in your car. And then later when you're reading again, it syncs to where you were at in the automobile, and it goes back. And so like you just continue on, and you can basically go through books in a very efficient manner. So I highly recommend that. Um, so let's get down, let's dig in. So this is where the teaching part starts. Let's talk about marketing, scheduling, and action plans. So I want to talk to you a little bit about advertising. My background, I've been in sales and real retail over 25 years. I was a store manager for an electronics and appliance store for a while. Then I graduated, went to bigger tickets, and I sold manufactured housing. I worked my way up the ladder there, and eventually I became a general manager. And part of my duties there was advertising. I had a $30,000 monthly budget to spend on advertising. Now this was back in early 2000s, and I got to tell you, 30,000 back then, that was a lot of money. And I didn't take that lightly. I would do a combination of print, which would be like, let's say, the newspapers or small little papers that go into the neighborhoods. I would do radio advertising. Um, Now, one thing I got to tell you is that my goal on advertising was two things. I wanted that phone to ring. I needed to run ads that would light up the phones, and so that my guys could answer it and get leads. And the second thing is I was trying to drive traffic to the locations, and once again, so that it puts them in front of people. Now, one thing that I always hated about advertising, especially with big budgets, they'd want you to commit to little contracts, so many weeks and stuff like that, is that there was never any guarantee. I never had a guarantee on how many times my phone would ring or how many people would show up to the location. There was no guarantees. And I have to tell you, our marketing plan, what I love about it is that there's a guarantee. And so let's talk about marketing for a second. This is my plan for you. So right now we're doing really well with Facebook ad campaigns, and you can get a guarantee 20 leads a week on Facebook. Now the investment on that is $350, and I got to tell you, you get it instantly. So if you placed a Facebook ad campaign today, you're actually going to start seeing leads generated today and tomorrow. So the typical, delayed response that we get with direct mail, you don't have that with Facebook. It's immediate. Um, Now, I will tell you that, the downside is that the shelf life is shorter because you can't go out to a Facebook lead, 6 months down the road and say, hey, 6 months ago, you filled out this request for information and I'm here to tell you about it. They're not going to remember. They're going to look at you crazy, right? Where, direct mail leads, you show them the card that they filled out in their own handwriting. But guys, I recommend doing 20 leads a week with Facebook. I recommend to do 15 direct mail leads bi-weekly. This is every other week. And then you need to work referrals. Now, I put on this slide 2 leads a week from referrals. Guys, that's like super easy. You'll probably have people just give you 2 referrals without even asking. I'm just trying to be very, very realistic with these numbers. And warm market, I mean, you still need to talk to your friends and your family, and you need to generate some leads there. So a combination of warm market referrals, you're looking at 4 leads a week. This is going to put you in some really good money. I want to break this down for you. If you just go with the 27 leads per week, okay, and you should meet with 60% of your leads, that should put you in front of 16 people. That's your presentation number, 16. If you can just close half of them, that's a very, to me, low closing rate. Most of the people that I work with, they're closing between 60 to 70%. My personal closing rate's closer to 80. So if you can close half, that puts you with 8 policies, 8 sold apps. If you're just at a commission level of 90%, right? That gives you your annual premium, which we go with a $54 a month average of $650 annualized premium. 90% of that is $585. That's your commission. You multiply that times 8 sales, that puts you at 4738, but we only get advance 9 months, right? So 9 months advance puts you at 3553. That's what's deposited in your bank account today, right? We're going to use that number. Going with the Facebook leads and the 15 every other week, you're looking at average weekly cost of $573, and that nets you $2750 a week. Okay. Now the remaining 25%, that 1184, you're going to realize that later once that policy hits its 10th, 11th, and 12th month. But for my calculations here, okay, because I know that some are going to fall out. You're going to have some charge back. Some people can't afford it. They bit off more than they can chew, or maybe they're flakes. Whatever the reason, you're going to have some folks fall off. Okay, I'm going to go with a very conservative number of 25%. That means 1 out of 4. If 1 out of 4 falls off, okay, that still leaves you 75% of your book, right? So we'll go ahead and just eliminate that 1184 on the annual income. We're going to take that 2750 and we're going to multiply it times 50. That's 50 weeks. That gives you 2 weeks of vacation. That puts your annual income at $137,531. Annual lead cost $28,662. That nets you $108,869. Guys, this is very, very realistic. I got some other components I'm going to show you here in a second. But my whole premise of how do you make $125,000 starts with this: 20 Facebook leads and 15 direct mail every other week. Now, throughout the year, you're going to see other lead opportunities come available. Maybe an A- lead, maybe B leads, maybe overflow leads. Throw that in the mix. That always going to make it look better. But I'm just saying, if you never had any other opportunity and this was your only opportunity for leads, you're going to make 108,000 provided you do the activity. So let's go with the second component, is having a good work schedule. Everybody's work schedule is going to be different. This is what works for me, and I have been really successful with this work schedule. So I'm just going to lay it out for you. On Saturday morning, every Saturday morning between the hours of 8 and 12, I'm on the phone calling my leads, scheduling appointments for Monday and Tuesday. Now I shoot for Monday first, and if they're not available Monday, then I go to Tuesday. I got to tell you this. I don't like wake up at 8 and start making coffee at 8. I'm waking up at 6:30. I got my coffee down. I'm comfortable. I'm ready to roll. At 8 o'clock, I'm dialing my first lead. Okay, so don't like get around to it at 9 o'clock and you kind of started getting comfortable. No, I'm talking about make your first dial at 8 o'clock. You got to be disciplined. And I got to tell you something, the last couple of months, I've had the privilege of rubbing shoulders with Avi Asaline on a couple of trips. And Avi, he's written over $500,000 in annualized premium multiple years. And Avi told me The secret to his success was every Saturday morning he woke up early and he made his dials to set up Monday and Tuesday. And he said that there was many times that they had family events. They were even out of town in Atlantic City with friends. His wife would be downstairs having breakfast, and they would say, "Well, where's Avi?" They say, "Oh, he won't be down till noon. He's doing some stuff in the room." And what he was doing was making his calls every weekend. It doesn't matter, 8 to 12. You got to make your prospecting calls to set up Monday and Tuesday. I promise you, if you do this, if you really do it, you got those 4 hours, you're going to have a strong lineup on Monday and Tuesday. And what better way to start your week with people to sit in front of and start meeting with? Now, if I don't have Monday and Tuesday booked, then Sunday evening, I'm calling again between 5 and 8. And I got to tell you, sometimes I don't have to make calls on Sunday. I do really well Saturday morning. I'm done. But if I have any gaps, then I'm going to make some more calls. And on Sunday, I'm going to call between the hours of 5 and 8. That's the best time to call. I got to tell you, I usually fill, I don't have to stay on the phone very long on Sundays because I usually fill any gaps I have rather quickly. So my thought process is I have 2 full days to sit in front of people. Some of the questions I get is like, how far out do you schedule appointments? You know, I typically schedule them an hour and a half apart. So I'll start at 9 is my first appointment. I go 9, 10:30. I go to 12, 1:33, 4:30, 6, and occasionally I'll book a 7:30. Very rarely I might book even a 9 o'clock, depending on the individual. Sometimes I'll have somebody tell me that we're in retail. The only time they can meet with me is at 9 p.m. If they're really serious, I'll book 9 p.m. But it doesn't happen very often. So to be honest with you, most of my appointments I book between 9 and 6 o'clock. And then on occasion, I might go beyond that. Now, let's talk about Monday and Tuesday. If I have any gaps left or if I have a no-show, I have all my leads with me, I have them all routed out. I'm going to go ahead and door knock towards my next appointment. So, just make sure that you're prepared. If you have a no-show, you're moving forward. Now, there's been Mondays that literally every single appointment I scheduled stuck. I once had 9 appointments scheduled on a Monday, and all 9 of them stuck. And at the end of the day, I wrote 6 applications, and man, I made like 4 or 5 grand that day. It was a beautiful thing. That doesn't happen very often. I've also had Mondays where nobody stuck and it was all no shows. And so you want to be prepared for that, because if you have those bad days where everybody's canceling and nobody's home, um, you don't want to be defeated mentally. You want to have your leads so you can go and keep working and door knocking and meeting with people. So there's been times when nobody showed, but because I door knocked, I still wrote business. So be prepared. Um, Now, same thing on Tuesday. Any gaps or no shows, you want to door knock. Wednesday for me is always an office day. Let me tell you how I do Wednesday. On Wednesday, I'm following up on all pending cases, getting any pending requirements satisfied. I also use Wednesday for some self-education specific to the business. So if there's a product I want to learn, I study it on Wednesday. If there's a new carrier and I want to learn about them, I study it on Wednesday. That's my dedicated day to study. And every Wednesday, I dedicate a minimum of 1 hour of self study for product or carrier. Now, Wednesday evening or Wednesday afternoon, both sometimes, I start making phone calls to set up my Thursday and Friday. Now, we'll have to tell you this, most of the time, I met with most of the people or talked with most of the people by this time. So I may not have a full Thursday or Friday. So Thursday or Friday for me, I might have a few appointments, but for the most part, I'm door knocking. just to let you know. So who am I door knocking? I'm door knocking the people I couldn't get a hold of. So I called them, Saturday, Sunday. I called them Wednesday. They never returned my call. By the way, don't leave messages. But if I wasn't able to get a hold of these people, now I'm putting them on the route. I'm scheduling that out, and I'm going out and I'm door knocking them. So a couple things I want to say. We have some videos already pre-recorded on the website that you can learn about door knocking, and you can learn about calling people, prospecting on the phone. So my recommendation, is dig in on those to learn more about it. But I want to move on. And oops, I went too far. Give me 1 second. There you go. I want to talk about activities. So, we talked about making a plan, doing the schedule, right? But now you got to actually get out there and do it. And how do you know if you're staying on track? We also have a webinar already pre-recorded on this, but I'm just going to touch on it. Basically, every day you want to track your activity. Again, our week starts on Saturdays. And Saturday, every time you call a lead, you're going to tick it. You're going to make a tick mark. You're going to show that you dialed it. Then you're going to talk to how many people did you talk to is the next column, scripts. That's what that's short for. So how many people did you talk to? How many appointments did you set, right? And then if you did any door knocking. So again, like for me, door knocking is going to be during the week, but I'm going to track my door knocks, how many people I talked to at the door, how many appointments I set. And then sits is how many presentations did I make, how many apps did I write, what was the annualized premium, any referrals. And safe, and that dollar is safe money. That's like you found an opportunity for an annuity. Maybe it's a retirement plan or 401k, IRA. Maybe they just have money sitting in the bank. But this is how you track what you're doing. This is what keeps you on pace. And guys, let me tell you, when you're out there at 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon and nothing has happened for you, you got to stay on pace, because this is a numbers game. You cannot stop activity. I've had many days where I got my sales late in the day, and I've had many where I got my sales early in the day. Occasionally, you might get it throughout the day, but you got to stay on pace. You got to stick to your work schedule. So this is where you track it. At the end of the week, you're plugging in your notes there on the bottom. How many leads did you receive? What was your ratio, leads to sits? Right? So it should be at 60%. Okay. If you're not at 60%, then you need to, figure out what you're doing wrong. We need to work on your prospecting skills. And then how many apps did you write versus how many did you sit? So if you're not getting 50%, you're closing less than that. You definitely need to get hold of some ASAP, so we can work with you on it. So the next thing I want to say, what you want to track is your weekly production. So every day at the end of the day, I come in and I write the apps that I wrote that day, and I plug them in here, and I keep track of it. And so just to let you know, I have a spiral binder at the beginning of every year. I make 52 sheets of both of these activity worksheet and this production report, and I track it every week. And at the end of the year, I have it. And then so like this coming year in January, I can look back for 2018, and I can see how many leads I got, how many people did I see. I can track my activity, and I can always tell why my production goes down just by looking at my activity report, because it's always tied to activity. So you might ask, Jimmy, well, where do I get these sheets at? They're on the Senior Solutions website. If you go to miscellaneous, it's under the miscellaneous tab, and you'll be able to find it under forms. So that's how you track your activity. Now, you got to track your progress, and you need to track it weekly and monthly. So let's talk about that. Each week, it's obviously you're filling out your reports, but at the end of the month, you need to find out where are you at, what numbers did you hit, and then at the end of each quarter, you want to have quarterly reviews, because you want to see if you're on pace to hit your annual number. So again, if you want to make $125,000, this this plan that I just laid out to you is going to get you to 108. So I'm going to show you how to get to the rest. Okay. Um, the other thing I want to say is that if you're off track, okay, you got to stop making excuses and you got to start making adjustments. Now, most of the time, people they adjust their goals, and that's not what you want to do. Don't lower your goals. You want to raise your activity. So if you're on pace, or rather, if your activity's on pace to what you're supposed to be doing, but you're not hitting your goals, well, then make an adjustment and increase your activity. Do more door knocks, do more phone calls. There's more activity you can do. Purchase more leads. We talked about B lead opportunities. We talked about A minus lead opportunities. You can always, pick up more referrals, but you got to increase your activity. So, make an adjustment there. Um, Back to our numbers. So again, let's say you got 27 leads, 20 coming from Facebook, 7 coming from direct mail. That should put you in front of 16 people. I got to tell you this, if you're writing 8 apps to 10 apps a week, you're not going to be at the 90% commission level very long. You're probably going to soar through. You're going to bust 100. You're going to go to 105. You'll probably get up to 110 even. And so now, 110, that's a 20% increase in your income. So your costs stay the same. They don't go up any. But if you add 20% to that number, you're looking at another $26,000. So now actually I did show you how to get to 125,000 by just doing this simple formula. But I want to show you a couple of other things. And so let's talk about referrals. I'm going to combine referrals and warm market. If you can, just by talking to your customers and asking them who else do they know that can benefit from this solution, their friends, their family members, and you talk to your own friends and your own family members, you'll get at least 4 people a week to prospect. Now, if you only sit with 20%, that's one sit, okay? And you close 70% of those sits, you're going to make 1 extra sell a week, out of 4. So let's just say, 1 out of 4, you should get 1 extra app a week. If you make that 1 extra app a week, that's another $438 a week or another $21,000 in income a year. Okay, so let's keep a running tab on this total. So we're talking about 108,000, and then you can get another 26,000 in commissions by getting promoted. And now here's another 21,000 from referrals. Now we're at $155,000 in annual income just by doing this one simple thing, right? Let's add another element into it. The reason why we're in this business to make money, this is a commission override. If you recruit 3 people, now you don't have to recruit anybody, but I just want to show you the opportunity. If you just recruited 3 people and you taught them to do this same system, you're going to get an override. And let's just go with the conservative 10%. If each agent just wrote 3,000 in weekly premium, that's 9,000 a week times 10%. That's $900 a week in commission. That's more than enough to cover your marketing costs. That adds another $46,800 in income. Now we're at 201,000. And guys, we hadn't even touched on renewals. Next year you're going to get a renewal from the carrier for the policy, and each year it's going to keep growing. So next year you're going to get $9,800 in renewals, and it's going to grow every year. That puts you at 210. So guys, what I'm telling you is, if you want to recruit, you're going to bust 200,000. If you don't want to recruit, we'll deduct that. That puts you over $160,000 in annualized income. That's the plan. This plan does work. I'm living proof of it. I want to go back to something, and that is, investing in yourself, investing in the leads and marketing. If you don't have people to see, who are you going to tell your story to? And a lot of times what I get from new agents is say, Jimmy, I don't have any money. I can't buy leads. I don't have anything, right? Well, you got to figure it out, guys. Let me tell you, I didn't have any money either. When I first started 4 years ago with Senior Solutions, I was broke and I was in dire straits. And I don't know if my father's listening, but let me tell you my story just real quick, just to illustrate what you need to do. But I was in the insurance business and I tried doing warm market and I didn't have leads and I was like going bankrupt quick. My wife kept telling me to get a job, go back to work. We got to pay the bills. It got so bad between us, we got separated. I didn't want to give up on my dream. Remember your why. I knew why I was doing it and I didn't want to give up on it. I didn't want to have to go back to work for somebody else. And so I had to call my dad at the age of 47 and say, hey, Pop, can I come and stay over there? And by the way, two of my kids are coming too. My son and my daughter wanted to come with me. So all three of us were cooped up in this little room, right? It was embarrassing. Um, and I didn't have no money. My wife called me and she says, Jimmy, we need to pay the house. We're 2 months behind. Let's sell your truck. You have equity in your truck. I said, all right, come pick it up. I mean, I was like down in the dumps. She picked up my truck. Joe Johnson recruited me. He didn't even know I didn't have a vehicle. I didn't want to tell him that. I was in dire straits. I got to tell you, I didn't have no money. I didn't even have transportation. So Joe says, Jimmy, this system doesn't work if you don't have any leads. And I said, well, I understand that, Joe, but I don't have any money. Can you lend me some? Can you front me some leads? Can you help a brother out? And Joe simply told me, he says, you know what, Jimmy, I've been doing this a while. And a lot of folks I've tried helping, they just don't put it in. They just don't put the same effort into it when somebody, gives them the leads. But when they have to come up with the money to buy the leads and they got skin in the game, they're going to go work them. And that made sense to me. He goes, you're going to have to figure it out. And he goes, you know what? If you were in jail today, you got arrested for something and you were broke like you are today, I bet you'd figure out a way to come up with that bell, wouldn't you? And that kind of made sense. And I said, yeah. So myself, what I did is I know how to trim trees. My home, we have lots of trees. Trust me, I got a lot of experience and a lot of equipment. So had my dad help me go pick up the equipment. Again, I'm living at my dad's house. I don't have any transportation. So I'm in my dad's neighborhood. I'm going door to door knocking and asking folks if they'd like their trees trimmed. And that's what I did. And I did this in the middle of the summer. It was brutal hot. And I trimmed trees and I did that for 2 weeks. And I had enough money to buy some overflow leads because they were immediately available. And I bought those leads and I rented a car and I went to work. And in 1 week, I generated a $3,800 income. And those leads, they, if I remember right, costed me $1,800. And I put 2,000 profit in 1 week in my bank account. I was happy, man. I got to do this again. Well, I didn't run out of leads. I didn't get to work all of them. And I did it again the second week, but now I didn't have any lead cost. And I made another $4,000 in week 2. And you know what? My life has never been the same since. Guys, this is the plan. It works. I have to tell you, we don't make any money on the leads. We're not a lead vendor. We're not selling you leads for profit. We're just simply saying we know what it takes to make sales, and you got to get on a lead program. And in fact, our Facebook provider for the lead campaign is a third party. We have no association with them other than we discovered that they have a really good platform for Facebook campaigns. When it comes to the direct mail leads with YIG, Avi and Brian, the owners of Your Insurance Group, they don't make any money on the leads. In fact, they lose money because oftentimes there's overflows that come in. People don't buy them. They have to discount them. So they lose a little bit, but they're making their money on the override, on the volume. And that's where it's at. Invest in yourself, not only in education, but invest in yourself on the leads, whether it be Facebook leads, direct mail. Maybe you want to do some telemarketed leads. We have those available as well. But you got to invest in your business. And the last thing I want to say is you got to invest in yourself. Do some traveling. You know, we're doing these shows. We had several shows this past year or this current year, 2018. We go to different cities. Uh, so far, you know, I always hear, oh, well, you know, I can't afford it. I can't go. Well, why not? Invest in yourself. No one can take that away from you. I can tell you this. Joe says, hey, Jimmy, I want to go to this conference. It's in Chicago. Of course, Joe lives in Chicago. I live in San Antonio. I was like, man, I don't want to go all the way up there for a conference. I mean, it's not even a YIG event. I'm so glad he kind of pushed me. I did it. My life has never been the same since. You got to invest in yourself. You go to these conferences, you learn things that would change your life. They connect you, and that can't be taken away from you. So, you know what? Figure it out, guys. Invest in yourself. And I want to go back to this. You got to not only invest in yourself, you got to have a plan, and you got to have a work schedule, and you got to put in the elbow grease. You got to actually do the activity. And I promise you, if you do these things, you're going to bust 125,000 easily. Easily. You just got to get out there and do it. So what I'd like to do is I'm going to stop the recording, but I want to open up the call for any questions. You can either ask your question or raise your hand and I'll unmute you.